Hello guys, today I thought I would bring you a little bit of an opinion piece, 5 things that I think Final Fantasy XIV does better than World of Warcraft. Now I'm speaking as an 18-year WoW veteran. That's how long I've played the game on and off, and I've played it pretty consistently almost every single day, never dropping my sub for the past about 9 years now. So I feel like I've got a decent authority to make these comparisons. I'm a pretty new player to Final Fantasy. I've been playing for about 6 weeks now. And to give you some context where I'm in the story, I've just finished base ARR, A Realm Reborn. That's patch 2.0 content. I know that my other YouTube videos on this channel are a little bit behind, but they are coming, so bear with me on those. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I just thought I would kind of give you my thoughts on a few things that I've found stuck out to me since I started playing this game, and that I thought would massive quality of life improvements over World of Warcraft, as I said, being kind of my only real context with MMOs to draw from, right? So in no particular order, let's jump straight into it with point number 1, which is having all jobs on one character. I think this one is huge. Obvious one being, having that ability to switch at the literal click of a button. You can change not only your, what we would say in WoW as like class or spec, so that being your job, you can also change your role entirely just by re-equipping a different weapon. So you can just hold all your different weapons on one character. Boom, you've just gone from a summoner to a samurai. You've just gone from a samurai to a warrior, or a warrior to a sage. So you can tank, heal, melee DPS, and range DPS all on the same character, which is amazing. Obviously, this makes tons of sense for being a team player, having versatility in your gameplay, being able to off-roll and, off spec or off job in raids and dungeons if you're playing with friends or your guild or FC, or even like a static or something, just a bunch of players that you play with frequently. Being able to switch, your job just depending on the niche that's required for that particular fight, for example, is a huge ability, and something that will set you out if you're really big on your serious gaming. That can really set you and stand you out as like a very much team player. So you got that going for you. Another thing is like queue times with daily content, like your daily roulettes and things. If you're not feeling, if you're in a rush one day and you want to get your dailies done, boom, you can queue as a tank or a healer or something. You don't need to not have access to that because it's on a separate character like you'd have in WoW. If you played like a hunter on World of Warcraft, you'd only have access to damage specs, and you literally don't have the ability to tank or heal on that character. So you'd have to have an entirely separate character, level it up again, and gear it up again, and all of these kind of like time sinks and stuff, and time gates, and then you couldn't even get the gear or whatever you're doing that daily for on your main character anyway, right? This also trickles down to gear acquisition, and I guess you could say glamour collection and acquisition as well. Being able to pick up all these different types of gear for all these different jobs as you go is just huge. Whenever you do want to kind of like just respec or reroll, you've got that set of gear ready to go. You can have all of your glamours on one character. I think in World of Warcraft now I have about, I think it's 13 or 14 characters maxed out that I have to, if I wanted to play all of those and have access to every job, I have to level 14 characters. I have to gear them all up, keep them geared, keep them relevant and stuff. Having access to all that on one character is huge. And another thing as well with that completionist content, and for me at least, like my memories, having all of my memories in one place is kind of huge. In WoW, again, as I said, you have to have like 14 characters, so I have a different set of memories for every single one of my characters. So over the years I've played, let's say I played my druid in one patch or one raid, so I have these certain set of memories on my druid from when I played it, and then if I've re-rolled to maybe fill a different spot when I'm getting into my serious like mythic raiding and stuff, if I've re-rolled, now I have a different set of memories on my mage or my warrior or something over here. They're not all just like collapsed into one space. Like they're all on my account, I guess, but it's like a bunch of different characters which have a bunch of different models, and I don't have that like bond. It's a bit disconnected. I don't just have like a big, like really like meaningful bond with just one character, which I feel like you could have with like, that's my warrior of light in Final Fantasy. And I feel like that's a big thing, honestly, for a lot of people. Like they've been through thick and thin with their warrior of light, and is a bit fragmented when it comes to WoW in that sense. So my second point then is the community. I think the community does an absolutely great job in just staying positive, overall being positive in Final Fantasy, as opposed to in WoW. A little bit doomer recently, and for good reason. You know, the game is on a slight downward trend for quite a few years now, and I am a firm believer in, you know, soaking in your surroundings and being around positivity generally makes people a bit more positive. Being around negativity, sadly, also makes people negative, right? And I've just felt like already my mental health, mental well-being and stuff has already got way more positive just in a short space of time. So I definitely get an overdose, but I don't think that it's not present for players who aren't like streamers, YouTubers and stuff like that, right? I've heard many stories about people just having nice encounters and meeting nice people in the game naturally. Just chatting in cities and just having good interactions in dungeons and stuff like that as well. So I definitely don't think it's just a me thing. I think there are a lot of kind of gameplay mechanics present which allow you to express yourself and have that character identity. Those being like character customization. You know, you've got very in-depth character creation with different voice lines. You've got, you know, all the sliders. You know, you can have different heights. You've also got the different races with sub races as well. You know, tattoos. You can do all of this stuff. That's one way to express yourself just from literally day one of, you know, making your character. Then you've got obviously glamours and things. You can dress your character up in all these different costumes and save, I think it's like 30 different glamour plates or something, and have just like, boom, now I've changed to my like bikini or my you know, big heavy armor suit or something like that. Being able to have access to all these different things and just like change on the fly, you can do quite funny things with that. I've seen people that, you know, there's emotes where you jump into the sky, so they've stood in one glam and then they do this emote where they jump into the sky, and while they're in the sky they change glam and they come back down in a different one, and it's just like, oh, that was cool. You know, having that ability to express yourself in the game I think is just generally good. Emoting is a huge one as well. All the different kind of dance moves, you got, you know, such detail in the emotes. You can even like have certain expressions on your face, like you can be smiling or you can be sad or you can be like grimacing, like, ugh. You know, like you've got all these different things, and that's just your character's face. Then your body can do something different. You got a bunch of different poses for standing, a bunch of different poses for sitting, all of these small emote things. And if your emote game is really strong, you can like have that really good expression of like your personality through your character, which I think is a great thing. And then there's a couple other ones which I do want to touch on, like adventure plates being a huge one. Adventure plates I think is an amazing thing to have in the game in terms of expressing yourself. You can do different models. I've seen you know, some nice adventure plates where I'm like, cool plate, you know, and then I've seen some sus ones where I'm like, cool plate, you know. But yeah, they're definitely there's definitely a lot of different options that you can do to kind of get that across. You can be funny with it, you can be like ominous or cryptic with it and stuff. Some people, you know, just put a nice little message to everyone. Some you can personalize to, you know, a certain group of people that you want to read your plate and stuff, and when they read it they'll probably send you something. Some people I've seen have like riddles on it, and then they want you to whisper them like what you think the answer to the riddle is, so it gets people talking. You know, you can just walk around the city and just inspect people's plates forever. It's really easy to people watch and stuff like that. So I think all of this kind of brings the community together. Then you got the sprout system as well, where people just like to help sprouts, you know, not just, you know, streamers or anything like that. People just generally go out their way to help sprouts. You got a little icon above your head, a little plant, little leaf, and people just know like, oh, okay, that person's new to the game, so maybe I'll give them a second chance. Maybe I won't be too, you know, harsh on them if they make a mistake in my group content. Maybe they need a hand, maybe they need some gold, maybe they are lost, maybe they want directions. So people generally do go out of their way to just help people. I've heard many a story of people who had like no clout in the game or something. They were literally just a new player, and people came up to them and were like, hey, you okay? Have this pet. And I've done this myself as well. I tried to pay it forward. People have been really nice to me. They've given me pets, mounts, and items, gold. I've barely taken any gold, but I have taken trays of items, mounts, and stuff. And I do try and pay that forward every time someone gives me like an item I already have. I still take it, and then I'll just find a random sprout as I'm in the world. I'd just be like, hey, do you want a gift? And then we just give them a gift. There was one person we found last week just walking around questing in Van Alan. And I just went, hey, do you want a gift? And they were like, yeah, cool, thanks. And then I kind of just showed them like my weapon, showed them some mounts. And then because I have the capability to do this, I just went on stream like, guys, everyone just come here. And we're just going to throw this random person a party. So as they were questing, I was like, wait here, I'm just going to arrange something for you real quick. And then, you know, within 2-3 minutes, because fast travel is such a big thing and you can just get around the world so quickly, you can change data center and stuff. Within like 3 minutes, we had like 40 people just like surrounding this person. And we were sat there popping bottles of champagne. We were with our glow sticks. We were giving them like a mount kind of showcase and stuff, kind of a similar experience that I got. Because I have now, I can do this because I have the stream and the community that, you know, we've built around the stream and stuff. It's nice to pay that forward to just random passers-by who you find out in the world and kind of just like, I don't know, just like see their reaction. It was really nice. They were just like, oh my god, like I'm never gonna forget this. Like I just started playing yesterday and you know, the game's been okay, but yeah, this is like mind-blowing. Like what the hell's going on, you know? So it's really, really nice to have the option to do that with people. Yeah, people just like taking care of sprouts, myself included. And then my last point on community is kind of like the mini game that is nightclubs. The clubbing scene I think is cool, and I'll probably make an entirely separate video about like the clubbing scene and the DJing scene and stuff like that, because I think it's just an amazing thing to have. But just having stuff like that where it's like this mini game where people who maybe aren't super confident in real life, they don't want to put themselves out there and stuff, you know, they want to escape in the game, they can do that, you know, into the nightlife as well. And just rock up to some random club, start talking to someone and make a couple friends. Maybe they're friends for years. Maybe they do content outside of clubbing together as well. Maybe they've made a new friend they can do dungeons and raids with and stuff. So having that as like a option, I think is really, really good. You've also got all your normal RP stuff, but having the club stuff, really, really cool. So the third thing I think that Final Fantasy does a little bit better than WoW as well is storytelling and world building in game. Now, the lore in World of Warcraft is actually quite good. If you do read into it, there are some quite compelling and good stories, good characters and stuff in there. The thing I think that Blizzard and World of Warcraft drops the ball on is actually telling that story in the game. It's all there, it exists, but you can barely find it. They don't tell it very well. They don't tell it through questing. They make it very easy to be a skipper as well in the game. So most people that play WoW, you open a quest and there's this big red button at the bottom that says accept. And some people even have add-ons which just auto accept quests and auto hand them in. So you never even see the dialogue because it's so quick on your client side that the box pops up and it's gone. And you're just like, cool, got my XP, time to carry on with my day, you know. I think the storytelling, like the means of the storytelling is really bad. They also split the lore like out in like all these different books and all these different, you know, it's like you have to really go looking for it to try and get the story told. Whereas I feel like in Final Fantasy, it really just kind of like puts the story front and center. I've seen the game, you know, be called an RPG MMO instead of an MMO RPG, where they put the RPG and the storytelling and the world first. And I do think it's very important that the world is like a main character in the game. The world and everything that exists within it should be front and center as a character itself. I think that they did that very well with classic WoW, but over the years they have focused a little bit less on that. There's a good story, as I said, but I think that they just tell it really badly in game, and that's something that Blizzard should completely you know, up their game on, really. You've also got a lot of attention to detail in Final Fantasy, and like immersive things. You've got your music. You know, you've got your zone music, you've got your boss theme music, which is huge. Like certain bosses, even just bosses like dungeon bosses, or dungeons, they've all got like an individual soundtrack relevant to the story of that dungeon, which I think is really cool. And you've got your trials, which have like a bit more like, you know, music that busts out and it really goes hard, and it's like a proper full-on score in its own right. And then you've got mount themes as well, so you've got like a bunch of different mounts. A lot of mounts have the general theme, but a lot of them have like a specific theme to that mount, and it's like the lore behind that mount. Where did that mount drop from? Where did that mount come from? Some of them have, you know, songs from old Final Fantasy games and stuff like that. So I just think that, you know, having that, it's just like that slight little cherry on top and attention to detail, which really just like, if you're ever like fading out of the game, and you're just kind of like on autopilot, and then you mount up on like a mount roulette, and like boom, oh, I know this theme, and it kind of pulls you back in, and it keeps you focused, and it like re-immerses you in the game, and it, for me, that's like a really enjoyable thing. You've also got these kind of like small little videos and stuff that play, just like, again, immersion. When you go into a dungeon, or it'll play a slight little kind of like overview where it'll just pan the camera through the dungeon, show you the mobs that you're going to get to, the rooms that you're going to see, maybe some of the bosses that, you know, you're going to have to encounter and stuff. Just gives you a little bit like, ooh, okay, this is what's in store for us. Okay, now let's put our seatbelts on and go through it, kind of thing. Rather than just like, cool, I'm going in blind, I have no idea what to expect. Just like a little sneak preview. I think that's a nice feature as well. So then we get to a huge point for me: keeping the old content relevant. Something that WoW and Blizzard do not do at all. Every time a new patch comes out in World of Warcraft, everything that predates that completely becomes irrelevant, outside of stuff like achievements and transmog collection. That's like our equivalent of glamour in World of Warcraft, and people only really go back to it to collect mounts and achievements and transmogs, right? There's no syncing feature. You can't sync, you can't take friends and sync, you will just always overgear it. There's just no option to like go back and re-clear this content on any kind of difficult level, so it basically becomes irrelevant. Yes, they do remaster it sometimes, but very few and far between with like stuff like time walking and WoW. In Final Fantasy, you know, it's used basically every single day. In fact, it is used every single day. You've got your daily roulettes, boom, oh, you're back in the level like 16 dungeon, but you'll get a big bonus if you complete it. You know, this has other benefits as well. You've got players running through that lower content, and maybe the queue times are very long. By putting this into the rotation, you've got max level players scaling down, doing it for their dailies and stuff, which makes queue time shorter. There's more people doing that content at all times. It just drags 4 people from random points in the world, all different levels, but puts them in the party together. No one judges anyone. You're playing with people who are actually max level, but you're leveling up a character and you're level 15. Like, it's a cool little experience, and you can ask some questions. There's still a player. You can ask them, like, they might see your Sprout logo and be like, hey, what do you like about the game and stuff? And then you can make friends with people even if they're not at your level. I just think it's a really good way of bringing people together. Again, I guess you could throw this in, lump this into the community stuff I talked about as well. And then you've got stuff like level and item level syncing. I'm going to be doing, you know, some old raids. I'm going to be doing the Coils of Bahamut on synced min eye level no echo starting next week. And I'm going to be doing that with my stream, and it's going to be a great time. There's loads of people who have been max level. They've played the game for years, and they've never even done that. But they said it's because there's not that many groups going for it. I think it's just great that I can make a group that a lot of people are quite interested in taking part in, and doing content which is, I think, 10 years old now, right? And for that to still be challenging to a point where, you know, it's not like people haven't done it, they've only done it unsynced and walked over it. That's like essentially the same as we have in WoW. If you do it unsynced, you can just go through and like one shot everything. But doing it synced with people, it makes it, you know, you're never going to get the exact experience how it was back in the day, because, you know, things have been pruned from the game, abilities, playstyles, extra jobs now exist and stuff. You're never going to get like the exact experience, but you will get a pretty demandingly, you know, challenging one, mechanically demanding and stuff. People have told me is not going to be a walk in the park. So the fact that that exists is huge to me. Gives the game way more longevity, you know, with things to do. I'm just going to be one of those players that is exploring every single avenue that I can as I go. So I've got loads and loads and loads and loads of stuff that I'm going to do over time. So then we have the fact there is no add-ons in Final Fantasy, or at least not in general. You do have a few that are used mainly for aesthetic reasons, but not really often, if at all, for gaining a competitive advantage. And if you are caught doing that, you can actually be banned. So in WoW, we have loads of different add-ons, way too many to keep track of. Some of them are kind of like mandatory, which again creates this barrier to entry for, you know, new players or just casual players. There's no, you know, mandatory or OP add-ons to have in Final Fantasy. Just kind of works out the box. That can be very off-putting for players in WoW, to the point where people just say, I'm not going to use add-ons, I want to play the game. Like, I can't be bothered with the hassle, can't be bothered with the setup and stuff like that. and then they're at a massive disadvantage. So having that baked into the game, I think, is just generally good. And you still have like the option in Final Fantasy to have that customization because of how the HUD customization works. You can drag all of your different bars around. You can, move your buffs and stuff. You'd have to have add-ons in WoW to do a lot of that stuff. Again, more time, more setup. You need to have the know-how to do it. It breaks every single time there's a patch. All the add-ons break, and you need to wait a week or so for them to get updated, like days or a week or something, which just creates this massive headache if you're reliant, because over time you become reliant on them. Just not having to deal with any of that is just a huge quality of life increase, in my opinion. And then the actual real issue which I have with WoW add-ons is stuff like weak auras, creating an arms race with the developers, especially when it comes to stuff like raiding and getting that competitive edge. We have this very problematic add-on called weak auras, where you can essentially code add-ons within the add-on, and it will basically find ways to present information which gives you a massive competitive edge in raiding. And now it's created this problem over the years where people get better at coding these weak auras to the point where it makes these raid mechanics trivial. So it trivializes a lot of raid mechanics, which means that the devs start trying to develop more punishing and more difficult to deal with raid mechanics so that they wouldn't be trivialized just by a little weak aura. And then people find a way to make a stronger weak aura to trivialize these even stronger raid mechanics, and then it's just this massive arms race where the devs and the weak aura coders are trying to fight against each other for who's better at basically what they do. And then the poor old like casual player who don't even have weak auras are just like, what the hell is this? Like, I'm in this raid and there's this like whistles and bells going off all over here, and everyone's confused and everyone's running around in circles, and no one knows what to do because they don't have this like special weak aura package that everybody who raids seriously has. For the casual player, it's just this massive headache. And I think even to these players who use the weak auras, it's a massive headache. I've had myself mythic raids where we literally sit around trying to get the weak auras working for like 40 minutes, and that's just not fun for anyone. It's not fun for the people making the weak auras because you have to keep it updated because Blizzard keeps trying to break it. It's not fun for the raiders because they've always got someone who just didn't get the memo and didn't download the weak aura package. Then you've got to try and teach them how to use it, teach them where to download it from, and it just slows everything down. It's just a massive ball ache, and it just shouldn't exist, to be honest. But yeah, those are my points. Thank you for hearing me out. I know this video got a little bit long. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my points in the comment section below. And yeah, hopefully you have a good rest of the day. Binge my other YouTube videos, and I'll see you next one. Peace.